Hey, friends. So I had a dream last night. Not the pleasant kind of dream that's like a nice vision of things the way you hope life goes. I had one of those dreams that like really leans into the stuff that probably subconsciously we are somehow ashamed of or afraid of. It's like deep fear meets deep shame. And I woke up from it and I was like, what? Luckily, I mean, first of all, thank God I've been there before. And second of all, thank God I'm married to the woman that I'm married to, because in just like waking up and talking about it, it was like, oh yeah, I see what's happening. I see what's happening, yeah. But so anyway, what happened, what in my dream, I was music directing a show in Houston at my good friend's theater company Stages. And of course, nothing in the dream actually corresponded to any of the things in real life that are there, but it's just what it was. And so I'm music directing this show, and I was playing some number, it was like I think it was like the third song in the show. And for whatever reason, I didn't have music in front of me, or I had music in front of me, but it was illegible. It wasn't discernible. I was looking at like a computer screen kind of on an angle, wasn't telling me what I was supposed to be playing. And I was trying to, and for some reason it was like I had gotten used to just playing this piece in a certain way and thought that I knew it, but couldn't remember it. And I'm like, my brain is like, I get, I don't know, a couple bars in. It was just right at the beginning of the song. I'm trying to play this piece, and the harmony, which should be so obvious to me, was somehow just impenetrable. I couldn't find my way in. And I panicked and just kind of like melted down, like didn't know how to keep playing. And then I forget, there was clearly, this was like for a show. There were like people singing, but I don't even remember where they were. They weren't in my visual field. They just existed somewhere. All the attention was on the piano and like trying to figure out this piece. And then afterwards, so then I forget, like I melt down, or I get up and walk away or something, and I somehow end up around the people who had just been witnessing this. And everybody was like, or somebody was like, ooh, that's the first time that's ever happened. Never seen, like just total like brain meltdown, huh? And then somebody else was like, keep that man, like making a joke about the future, being like, keep that man at least 6 feet away from the piano. Like just all this disparaging stuff being said about this incredibly embarrassing moment. And I, at some point in this, woke up and I was like, yeesh, that's not a nice feeling, because it was like it headed straight for a feeling of, you're not good enough, you don't know what you're doing, you're a poser, you're an imposter, right? And I woke up from that and I was like, ugh. My first feeling was like, ugh. I was like, lying in bed, deeply ashamed. Have you ever done that? It's fun. Lying in bed, being like, oh my God, I'm so ashamed. I can't believe I did that. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. I just dreamed that. And then I was like, wait a minute, why does not being able to figure out something on piano constitute such a huge part of my identity? Why? Wait, when did that happen? When did it happen that me not being able to figure out the harmony to a song became an existential matter of my value as a soul? When did I link those two things? And I don't know when that was, but in the moment of seeing that, I kind of at least started or continued the process of unlinking those things, because whoa, it was almost like, of course, the first impression after the dream was like, ugh, that was horrible. That was the most miserable experience ever. But then my second impression was, or my second thought was, well, that's kind of comical. It's kind of comical that I was that affected by that experience, and that the experience, because it's one of those things where it snowballs, right? Like if you start, and it's very like on piano or in music where there's like a high level of, it's a very difficult task that's being performed cognitively. And if you kind of start to crash or things start to melt down a little bit, it gets harder. And so at some point it just becomes impossible. You just lose, it's just diminishing returns. You're just kind of like out of it, because if you let yourself get going down a kind of shame path or fear path, it just takes away the ability to do the things necessary to continue that activity. And by letting that happen, or by watching myself let that happen, I was like, well, how did I get to where I could get that problematically behind the eight ball in something that really is just a job I was doing? It was just a task to perform. And also then I was like, well, and why didn't I have music? What was this? What was going on? Why didn't I have music in front of me? Was I like literally trying to just sabotage this? Was it like just setting it up to be something that was impossible so that I could then feel the feeling of being incapable of doing this thing? And then as I came away from that, as I sort of like, again, you like come out of a dream and you're sort of like still in it, you're awake, but kind of like still like gravitationally in the dream space. And then little by little, you come back to like, oh, actually I'm in the conscious space again. And some of what I just experienced is somewhat ridiculous. And as I came into that space, I sort of recognized, well, a couple things. One, that experience ties right in to some of what I have witnessed over the last couple of days, as I described in my post a day or two ago about working on this song, working on a recording for the song, and sort of getting feedback from Katie letting me know that like I had over tinkered, and it was evident that I'd kind of been like over massaging, over tinkering, over polishing in a way that A, didn't really help the piece, or in fact made it worse, and B, reflected an underlying sense that the impulse that produced this, the first kind of like core inspiration, outgrowth, was somehow not adequate in my mind. And so I went to work polishing and tinkering and fixing and and as I took that in, I was like, well, so then this dream is just kind of like affirming that or one-upping that, taking it to an even more excruciating level. And that means that it's on its way out. Because then, as I came to, I was like, this is crazy. Like, it's nuts that I could get so, that's part of me is so bound to this particular skill or this particular activity in a way that totally defines my value or limits my value, circumscribes my ability to feel value. And so now I'm sort of in a place of welcoming that and witnessing it, kind of saying, okay, I'll be friends with you. I'll be friends with that feeling. Because it's the kind of thing where, like, I don't want to push it out. I don't want to reject it, but I also, it also very quickly appeared untrue. Very quickly it became clear, like, oh, this is not real. This is trying to show me something about the way that I like mistakenly invest in a certain kind of musical proficiency as a measure of my own caliber of human being. And it's related to the thing that happened a day or two ago when I was, over polishing, over massaging a recording of something that at its heart just came from this beautiful impulse and this easy sort of expressive impulse. And that the tinkering, it's not that it destroys it, it's just that it starts to limit it and carve it and mute it in a way. So once I fully woke up and realized what was happening, I was like, oh, this is a good thing. Thank you, dream. Thank you, subconscious, for kicking this up into a place where I can see it. Because it wasn't an unfamiliar experience. It was a pretty familiar experience. And it also, it's one that, on some level I've kind of, it has constituted like a background fear. And I think that it may have dislodged a bit because of the way in which I was able to respond and understand it to be so ludicrous. Actually sort of, it's like it banished it in a way. It took away its power, which is a very welcome thing. So anyway, nothing like a good shame dream to liberate you from unnecessary fear and attachment. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate you. Hope you're having a great day. I'll see you soon.